Hi guys, welcome back to this other session of the PI Cognitive Assessment. So this is actually the fifth session. If you check this channel, you're definitely going to see many videos that we've made on this PI Cognitive Assessment test. So basically, we're just going around over the internet, checking people who have taken the tests previously and collecting the questions from them, getting the corrections and explaining why we are getting to the answers that we are proposing. Okay. Without wasting much time, let's get into business. This time around, I think we have 25 questions. This user wasn't able to go through the whole test. So the test is you have 50 questions that you have to answer in 12 minutes. So there is no you're not penalized if you do if you miss certain questions. So we will always encourage you to even do guessing at the end. So always make sure to try to finish all the 50 questions. I think I'm also going to put a link of the video from which I took the different questions. Yes, as usual, I always put a disclaimer here to say my answers are correct, but I always like to put a little efficiency here of 90% just to say it could be one or two errors just from typing errors or something like that. So that's why I always put an efficiency of 90% here. So let's get into the real deal. So we have here question one, which is obviously a maths sequence question. You have to go through the different numbers and then guess what's the next number in the sequence. So here we have four, we have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, obviously 49. So we see that these are the squares of the different numbers. So we have 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 square 9, and obviously 36 is the square of 6. So we need to look for the square of 7, which is 49. So our answer here is C. Okay. Question two, which of the following is the opposite of the word hypothetical? Obviously, if something is not hypothetical, it means it's confirmed, right? So it's not based on any assumptions. It's something that has been confirmed. Okay. For me, assumed and hypothetical are similar words, I would say. Usual and vague, they don't really fit in here. So hypothetically speaking, or what you're speaking comes from facts, and the facts should be something that has been confirmed. So the opposite here is C. Question three. Here we have, yeah, this is a question where we have a couple of figures, and then we need to figure out which is the next number in the family, which figure among A, B, C, D is the next. So when you look at this, you see that you need to establish for yourself a certain pattern. So the very first thing that came to my mind here was just to count the number of sides. So we have 3 sides here, here we have 5, and here we have 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So here we have 7. Obviously, if I go by my logic, the next one should have 9. So those are odd numbers. So 3, 5, 7, the next should be 9. So going by that logic, the answer is C. So if we count the number of sides of this one, we're going to have 9. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so my answer here is C. Let me know if you have another logic, if you have another answer, and then you can also explain why you have the answer you've chosen in the comment section. I'll obviously check and yeah, then we can carry on. We can carry the discussion on in the comment sections. Okay, let's go to question four. Question four, which of the following is the opposite of the word hostile? I think this is a question that's repetitive from the 4 previous sessions that we've answered on this channel. You would see that this question always comes every time. And for me here, the answer is still cordial. So the opposite of hostile is cordial. Then question five, which of the number has the lowest value? As I always say, I like to convert my numbers from fractions to decimals because then it's easier for me to see which one is the smallest. But then there's also another logic where you can just go by looking at the numbers. You see that 5 on 3, for example, this is an improper fraction. So then it's obviously bigger than 1 compared to B. So it can never be A, obviously. And when you look at 3 on 4, if you're someone who works with fractions, you know 3 on 4 is 0.75, 2 third is 0.66, and then 6 on 10, which is the same as 3 on 5. Oh, you don't even need to convert to 3 on 5. You just see that that's 0.6, right? So obviously that's the smallest, given that this is 0.66, this is 0.75. Yeah, I said 0.66 there, but normally it should be 0.66. It's just a different conversion, I think the French one. Okay, let's carry on. So yeah, the answer here is B, 6 on 10. Question six, you have so you have to look at the transformation. So this transform into this. Obviously, this is going to transform to, we need to look for the figure to which this is going to transform to. So what you need to do is look for patterns, look for what has changed from this to this, and try to apply the same to this one in order to get the answer. So when we look at this, the little square, I would call it. So we see that the small white square in the middle gets gets doubled from both directions. The black ones that are directly up, down, left, and right to the center one, they get doubled as well, right? So the black one becomes 2, 2, 2, 2. So there's like a plus one, okay? And since this one is in the center, obviously if there's a plus one on the left, there's a plus one downwards. You have to yeah, to keep the shape, you need to complete it, right? So obviously there's a plus um, in all directions. So if we apply the same logic to this one, obviously, the answer cannot be C or B. So these two are completely out. It can never be any of them. So when you look at this one, it's either A or it's B. Now, when we try to look at the one that's directly opposite, the ones that are directly up, down, left, and right, so which is this two white here, the two white here, the two white here, the two white here, they have to also increase in number. So obviously, the answer here is A. Okay. Yes. Let's go to the next question, question 7. So question 7, this is one of those questions where you have a certain number of assumptions and then they propose a conclusion and you have to tell us if from this if from these previous assumptions the conclusion, you can make the conclusion, okay? So we say, okay, the first assumption is the Western sales region has been in existence longer than the Eastern sales region. The Southeast region was split into Southern region and Eastern region 5 years ago. So definitely the Western comes before the Eastern, and the Eastern and Southern were created at the same moment. So I try to represent them here, but so you see the West existed before the East, and the East and South exist at the same moment. So we can also say the West existed before the South, obviously. Now the conclusion says the Southern sales region is the oldest of three regions. That's totally wrong. So it's incorrect. The answer is B. We can deduce that from the two assumptions that this is not true. Okay. Yeah, then we go to question 8. Question 8 says you are responsible for mailing 50,000 letters. You must mail 50% of the total letters over the next 5 days. So you need to mail 50% of 50,000 letters. Normally, you don't even need to go into long calculations like I did here. You can directly just say, okay, 50% of 50,000. If you're someone who deals with money, you obviously know it's 25,000, right? So you need to mail 25,000 letters in the next 5 days. Assuming that if you plan to mail 1/5 of this amount each day, what is the total amount you plan to mail each day? So you have 25,000 letters you need to email. So what's the amount you need to email per day, right? So I don't even know why they mentioned this 1/5. So what is 1/5 of 25,000? Obviously 5,000, right? So if you have 5,000, 5 times it's 25,000. So the answer is B. Okay. I just did this down here just to have some, yeah, just to put it in the math form. But you really need to have this kind of logic where you directly use the figures the way they are and try to get to the answer as quick as possible. Remember, you have only 12 minutes to answer 50 questions. Okay, we move to the next one. Question 9. So yeah, they said the two figures above share a common feature. One of the features below does not. So these two figures, they have something they share in common, and then you have to look for the one in this set that doesn't match that feature that they share. We can all see here that it's a line of symmetry in such a way that if you cut the object in this line, you can perfectly fit both sides. Like one is the mirror of the other, right? So if you cut it here, this is the mirror of this one. Here, if you cut it here, this side in terms of area will be the same as the area here, but it's not the mirror of this one as compared to this heart, compared to this star or this trapezium. Okay, so the answer here is A. If you cut it here, yes, you have same. You might have same area, but they are not. This side is not the mirror of that one. So the answer is A. We go to question 10. Question 10, another English language question, another language question. So because depending on the language that you choose, you're going to get questions in that language. So you might not always get exactly the same questions, or maybe you get the same, but they are just translated in the language that you have chosen. So here there's a severity is to leniency as cruelty is to. So for me, cruelty is to, I would say compassion. Yeah, compassion. The answer here is compassion. If something, yeah, that's an English question basically. I think you don't really need to um, think a lot about this. It's either you know or you don't know, right? So yeah, let's move to the next question. Question 11. Question 11. Okay, we have a pattern. We have a first figure, second figure, the third figure. What's the next to complete this family, right? I don't know. I like to call them family questions because it's like that's the mom, that's the dad. Yeah, blah blah blah. Forget. So obviously the answer is C here, right? So you have to complete. If you follow the logic, you just see that the answer here is obviously C. That's a straightforward one. Question 12. Question 12. They say, what is the next number in the sequence below? So you have a sequence 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. You need to, yeah, you need to know what happens to get the next number. Sometimes, right? Sometimes you're going to find out that, like in this case, that it's not like you don't need to get a direct relationship between these two to know exactly the direction. The to know exactly the interaction between these two. So so you see that two to get three, it's like it's two plus one, you get three. Three plus two, you get five. Five plus three, you get eight. Eight plus five, you get 13. So obviously 13 plus eight, 13 plus eight, which is 21. So the answer there is A. Okay. Um, I know some of you might get confused. You do maybe three minus two, you get one here. Like the step between these two is one. The step between these two is two. The step between this one is three. The step between this 8 and 13. Um, yeah, the step between this is five, right? You see that if you were trying to say, okay, this the distance is one, the distance is two, the distance is three, and then you say the distance here is four, which is not four because the distance between these two is not four. You see that it's going to maybe disrupt your logic. And then I know that there many people might get confused. So always try to apply as many tactics as you want as you can. Simply see that these two, you adding these two, you get this one. You add these two, you get that. You add these two, you get that one. So you definitely have to add these two to get the next one. So 8 plus 13, 21. Okay. So here another pattern question. You need to look, you need to identify how it changes from this to this to this, and then get the next element. So here you have the black one there. When you move to this one, you see that it has moved one step to the right, and when you go to this next one, it has moved another step to the right, right? So obviously, it should move to this spot. So using that logic, we are left with either C or D. Then we look at the shaded one, the hashed one, right? We see that, okay, from this figure to the next one, it moved upwards by two steps. Moved, so it's this one is moving in an anti-clockwise direction, right? And then it's here. Obviously, the next point it should be somewhere here. So the answer is D. So the black one is moving in the clockwise direction by one step, while the hashed one is moving in the anti-clockwise direction by two steps. So if you apply that logic, you will get you're going to get the answer, which is D. Okay. Question 14. Here, another assumption question slash conclusion. You need to read the assumptions and then check the conclusion and see if it matches. Okay. The first assumption says, okay, hardcover books are shipped 3 days after an order is placed. Softcover books always take at least 1 day less than the hardcover books to ship after the order is placed, right? So it means that the softcover books, um, um, they are shipped earlier. So the softcover books, they are shipped earlier than the hardcover books. Now they tell us that special apparel orders take as long as or longer than hardcover books. So special apparel takes more time as compared to hardcover. So um, if you look at my comparative statement here, you see that special cover takes more time than hardcover, which obviously takes more time than soft cover. Now the conclusion says special apparel orders take longer to ship than softcover books. That is completely correct and true. And be careful because the previous question A was correct. The first option A was correct, B was incorrect, and C cannot be the same. Always make sure to check because they also change the order in the answers. So the answer here is it's correct, and then the option is B, which is correct. Be careful. Make sure to check that. Okay. Yeah. So the answer there is B. We move to question 15. In question 15, this is a maths question. You're told that you have learner is scheduling 35 part-time employees to complete a project. Of these employees, one fifth work mornings only. If you're someone, when you already read this, you have your rough paper in front of you, start calculating one fifth of 35. So 35 divided by 5 is 7. So definitely 7 work in the morning. 10 work only in the afternoon. Okay, that's already a straightforward number. And then the rest alternate between mornings and afternoon. So the rest is, we already know that 7 work in the morning, 10 work in the afternoon. 10 plus 7, 17. You make 35 minus 17, that's 18. So 18 work in the afternoons. You have to have this kind of, so when you're reading a question, you have your rough work in front of you, do the simple calculations and get the numbers as a whole number directly. So that whenever the question, when you get to the what they're asking for, you already have your numbers pretty much ready, waiting for you. And then they say if Lena plans on using all of her morning staff, that's the 7, plus half of her afternoon staff, that's half of 10, which is 5, that's already 7 plus 5, which is 12. And then one third of her remaining staff, we calculated the remaining staff, that was 18. One third of 18 is 6. So you just need to add 5. You just need to add 7 plus 5 plus 6, right? And that's 18. And the answer is A. I just wrote it here as a, because yeah, um, for me, I just wrote the whole mathematical expression down here for those who can get it that way. But what I would really advise you is when you start reading the question, you already see fractions of something. Get the fraction of that thing as a number and already have it on your paper. So that when you get down to the final question, you already have all the numbers that you've already simplified, and then you just normally after reading the question, by the moment you're reading how many people will learn a schedule, you should already have 7 plus 5 plus 6, and then you add them up together. Okay. Yeah, so the answer is 18. Question 16, you have, okay, this is one of those, yeah, this is one of the questions where you have a series of figures and you have to identify the member that's not part of the family, okay? That's a straightforward one. So when you look at this, you just see that, okay, if you want to look at the number of sides, they all have the same number of sides, right? So you have 4, 4, 4 there, 4 here, 5, 5 inside, triangle into triangle, um, how do you even call the one with 6 hexagon with 6? The one inside is also having 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So definitely the problem is the spacing. See, there's a lot of space between the inner one and the outer figure. So obviously C is the member that's not part of the family. So C is the correct answer. Okay. So one thing I also like with this is make sure to practice all the videos that you've seen on this channel concerning this PI cognitive assessment test, because the more you practice them, it's easier for you just to see a question and directly know exactly what they're asking for. You don't even have the time. You don't need, like questions like this, question 16, you don't even need to read what they're asking for in the question. You just look at the structure of the question. You already know what they're asking for, and then you already you can just go straight to your logic and get your answer, so that you don't have time. You don't imagine you reading the two figures above share a common figure. One of the That's already going to take you almost a minute just to read the question. And I remind you again, you have 50 questions to answer in 12 minutes. Okay. I'm going to maybe expand on this more at the end, on how to manage your time and number of questions, and then also why or how many points you should be targeting or you should be aiming for. Okay. Question 17. Question 17 says, what is the next number in this sequence? Yeah. There's also another technique where you have two intertwined series, right? So two intertwined sequences. So you see that there is -2, -4, -6, and -8, -10 should be a sequence. And then in between, they have added another sequence where you have 3, 5, and obviously the next should be 7. So the answer is 7B. But another person can use another logic where you try to get a distance between these two. I think it will exactly be the same distance between these two. So if you take -2, if you take 3 minus -2, what's the distance? 3 minus -2, that's 5, right? The distance between this is 5. The distance between 3 and -4, if you take -4 minus 3, yeah, that's going to be -7 or something. So here you have +5, you have -7, 5 minus this becomes 9. So yeah, it's like you're adding, it's like you added 5 here, you remove 7, you added 9, you should remove 11, and you should obviously add, no. Yeah, you should then add, yeah, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. Yeah, you add 13. Yeah, it works. If you add 13 to -6, you get 7. Yeah, okay, that works also. Yeah, you can decide to go by that. So you go by using the distance between two, and then you also see that the distance between two is it's a progression. Okay. Let me see if I can illustrate what I'm saying here. So we see that here. The distance between this, so the distance is definitely taking this minus the first one, right? So we see here we have a +5. The distance between this, we have -7, just like that, -7 below it. The distance between this, 5 minus -4 is +9. The distance between this is -11. Definitely the distance between this and the next should be +13, right? And if you add 13 to this, you should have 7. That's one way you can go about it. So you see that 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, but then you're also alternating the signs. Oh, this is a plus here. Okay, but I just really prefer to see it as two sequences: -2, -4, -6, and 3, 5, and obviously 7. That's really easy. So the answer is B. Question 18, assumption conclusion question. As I said, when you do them, you just see that it's always the same kind of questions. You have this assumption. Let me get back the nice pointer. Okay, yeah, so you have two assumptions. You need to tell us if the conclusion makes sense. So product A costs twice as much as product C. So the price of A is 2 times the price of C. I have that on my rough work. Product C costs less than product D and the same as product B. So C is cheaper than D and C is the same as B. Okay. Product D costs half as much as product A. So they're telling us that D, normally we know that C is half of A, but we don't know the relationship. We just know that D is smaller than C, right? So we don't have enough information to know if D is also, because if product D is half of A, it means that D and C are the same, which is not, it's not something that was said. They just said C was smaller. So we don't have enough information to conclude. So the answer here is A, okay? And you see again, the order has changed. Correct is not always A. Correct is not always, you see, it has changed again. So the answer there is A, okay? Question 19, which has the lowest value? Fractions again. When I already see 4 on 5 and I see 7 on 6, I always know that this is bigger than that, so it can never be that. 6 on 8, okay, that's a fraction. 4 on 3, that's also bigger than 1, so it's out of that. So we are now comparing A and C. 4 on 5 is obviously 0.8. You multiply by 2 up and down, right? You have 8 on 10, which is 0.8. Then here you have 6 on 8. So here is 0.8. 6 on 8. 6 on 8 is the same as, 6 on 8 is the same as 3 on 4, right? And that's 0.75. That's 0.75, which is smaller than 0.8. So obviously the answer is C. Okay, it's not obvious. Yeah, sorry for my language. I say obviously, but there's been some few calculations about it. Okay, so the answer is C. Just language problem. Let me stop using a lot of what was the word I forgot even. Question 20. Question 20, you have, okay, you have a transformation question. This transform to this, so this will transform to, okay, so we see Straightforward. This is just a mirror of that one, right? Dot, dot, three dots, triangle, triangle in that way. So it's simply going to be the same thing with three dots. So the answer there is A, right? So the answer is A. Yeah, this was a straightforward one. Answer is A. Yeah, this is one of those questions where I can say, obviously, the answer is A. Yeah, why not? Question 21, question 21. Okay, here we say, which of the following is the opposite of the word rigorous? That's lenient, right? If you're not rigorous with the work you're handling, you're definitely very taking it lightly. You're taking it, you're lenient about it, okay? So the answer here is A. Question 22. Question 22, we have another transformation question. This transforms to this. So this is going to transform to, we need to get that guy. So we need to establish some changes from this to the some changes in the first transformation. So we say, okay, the black one, okay, we start with the obvious one. We see the white box with the dot inside stays. The left box on the left stays in its position. The two black boxes down move up, and then the black box up stays up. So it's only black boxes from down that go up. So if we apply the logic here, it's only this black box that's going to go up there. All the ones that are on the side are going to stay in position. The one with the dot is going to stay in position. The black one there is going to stay in position. So definitely the answer here is D, right? So D, the black one here has moved up, and all the others have stayed in their positions. Okay. So my answer is D, but you can maybe get some other answers. You might get another answer, but for me, D sounds as the thing that's closest to the answer here. Okay. Okay. Question 23. Thirsty is to drink, as exhausted is to, yeah, when you're thirsty, you drink water. If you're exhausted, you just get a rest, right? So the answer is D. Okay. Question 24. Which number has the lowest value? Okay. This is not a very obvious question. These are now the type of questions where you need to write down these operations and get the numbers, right? You don't need to write them down, but just do your calculations straight and write the answer down so that you can compare all at the end. 2 minus 0.3, that's 1.7. 1.7 minus 0.6 is 1.1. You have 2 minus 0.8 is 1.2. Minus 0.2, it's 1. 1 plus 0.2, that's 1.2 minus 0.4, it's 0.8, right? 1 minus 0.5, 0.5 plus 0.4, that's 0.9, and obviously the answer, I keep using the word obviously, and the answer is C, 0.8, which is the smallest. And this comes to the last question. Unfortunately, as I said, I'm going to also put the link to the person taking the test. You see that he or she was not able to go far in the test, so we have only 25 questions that we can present to you in this session, okay? And obviously, I'm going to continue searching around the internet and get more questions and curate this really nice playlist for all of you so that you have enough resources to prepare for your test. Okay, let's go to the last question, then we can talk more later. Question 25. Altogether, 3 people have 120 coins. Mark has 3 times as many as Joel, and Joel has half as many as Sandra. How many coins does Sandra have? Obviously, there's maybe another logic that you can easily use here, but for me, I just used a very, very direct mathematical reasoning to get the answer. So saying that Mark has 3 times as Joel, I know that Mark is 3 times Joel. Sandra is half of Joel. No, Joel is half of Sandra. So um, it means definitely that Mark is 3 times. So Mark is 3 times Joel, and Joel is half of Sandra, right? So Mark is obviously, I just take 3 times half times Sandra, which is 3 on 2 times Sandra. And then I just know that Mark plus Joel plus Sandra, the sum of their money needs to be 120, right? Then I just do like a substitution here, and then I get the simple equation to solve. So it's 3 halves of Sandra plus half of um, 1/2 of Sandra plus Sandra herself equals to 120, right? 3 halves plus 1/2 is definitely 2, right? Plus 1, 3. So 3s equals to 120, and your s is 120 on 3, which is 40. Okay. I'm just thinking now maybe there was another way easy that you can get it easily without necessarily writing down all this simple but a bit complex equation. So I'm just thinking now that if Mark has three times as many as Joel, Joel has half. No, sorry, I cannot really guess something now. This is going to be the fastest way I would have done it, honestly. But if you have another logic, please just drop it in the comment sections. I think those who are going to check this correction are also going to dive into the comment sections to see one or two things that are being recommended there. And also, if there are any mistakes, I also figure out that in my previous videos I made a couple of mistakes. So I will get the answer C, but somehow I forgot and I put B there or something like that. So please also make sure to check the comment section. Okay. And this takes us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can give more energy, more power to the community so that we can go around searching for more videos, searching for more content in the direction of this PI cognitive tests, obviously. Get the corrections and prepare them for you guys. One last thing before I close this one, I also figured out a lot of people were asking me about in which language they should take the tests. As from what I've also read around, you can take the language in any you can take the test in any language you want. Take it in the test where you feel very comfortable with. Your recruiter on the other side doesn't have access to this to the language that you used. They only have access to your score. Okay. And also the other thing is when you're running out of time, make sure to just second guess the question. Just guess and tick them. Make sure to tick as much as possible if you're running out of time. Okay. Make sure to have a little time and say, okay, because when you when you see you have 5 questions per page, try to make sure that okay, there are 5 questions per page and you have 50 questions. So that makes how many pages? You have 10 pages. So 10 pages for which you need to answer all of them in how many minutes? In 12 minutes. So you have to make sure that you're spending maximum 1.2 minutes per page. Okay. Have a timer where it beeps after every 1.2 minutes so that you have to skip to the next page. Okay. And obviously, I'm saying this now, but there are some pages where you will get a little bit more complex questions. On other pages, you have really simple questions. I'm taking a case where you are on a page where you have these English questions and very quick mathematical expressions. There, you can spend like even 30 seconds on this on those pages. But if you read a question and don't spend too much time on the question. Don't really spend too much time on the question. And if you're running out of time, just make sure to tick as many as possible. Second guess, just tick and keep on going. Tick all of them. Why I'm saying this is because your recruiter doesn't see your score on the recruiter's dashboard doesn't show that okay you have tried this number of questions and you got this number correct. They just get that you got this number correct. So if you get 20 correct, they just see 20 correct answers. If you get 5 correct, they just see 5. You get 40, you just see 40. There's nothing like, oh, she answered 15 questions and she got 14. So if you get 14 out of trying 15, you are not better than somebody who got 15 out of trying all the 40 or all the 50 questions. Okay, they just see your final score. There's no um yeah, you don't have all this. They don't have access to how you took the test. Okay, or on or how many you failed. They don't have access to that one. And then the last thing also that I want to say is people keep asking do you know if they are going to score enough to make it? So actually a recruiter defines most of the time they define the average. They define what they consider as a pass for themselves. And then from all the different candidates who applied for the job who are taking the test at the same time, they're going to filter which ones have passed and which ones haven't passed. Most of the time the number is always around 29. 29 on 50, that's if you have 29 on 50, that's already very, very good score. 20, some will take it down to 25. Yeah, but when I took it as well, if you see the very first video on PI cognitive test in this on this channel, that was my test. I took it and then I'm very sure because when I finished, I looked at it, watched the video, and I did the correction of all the questions, and I noticed that I scored maybe something around 35 or something like that, which is pretty much a very good score, right? But just make sure to finish all the questions. That's also because I did not finish all the questions, right? And by the way, I also got the job because my recruiter told me that I had a very, very high score there. I didn't get exactly the job I was looking for, but I got recommended for another job because I did so well in this test that they recommended me another job, okay, in the same company, which is very nice, and I'm doing very well. So yeah, that's the end. Please, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and yeah, let's interact in the comment sections. Ciao.